That's
And
right.
sometimes for snack, Pastor Joe will have cookies, but he'll only have 2
Crumb.
chocolate chip cookies.
Oh, chocolate chip crumb. That's what it's called. That's what it's called.
But it's working. It's working. So to God be the glory.
God be the
So
glory.
this weekend,
Yeah.
we had a great time.
Yes, we did.
Yesterday, we
Yeah.
went to see an amazing movie entitled Precious.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen it. If you haven't, you should really see it.
Now, if you're Christian, I just want to let you know it's tough on the swearing. The
The
words.
language is horrific.
Words are rough. We were going to take our children.
Holy Spirit told us to go see it first, and I'm so glad.
Yeah, the language is rough, and while it's nothing that your children probably would not have heard, and sadly nothing in any of these schools, just want to give you that one thought that they don't miss any expletives. Every word that you could probably say, they use it about 26,000 times in the movie.
Yeah.
But the substance of the movie
was amazing.
was pretty amazing. She cried. I was cool.
I did cry.
She
I'm
did
going to
cry.
be honest.
I
I'm not
didn't cry.
ashamed.
I didn't cry. I manned it up.
One of the couples that went with us, when we said, "Did you cry?" He says, "Well, the tear was right in my eye.
It was right in the
It just
eye.
didn't fall." And his wife said, "Well, that's not crying, baby."
No, it's tearing up. It's tearing up. So the movie was amazing, and the movie had and one of the people, the group of folks I think it will have an impact on, are not just those that have struggled in their childhood. I think it's also those that are in relationship with people that struggled and had pains in their childhood.
Right.
And so it kind of inspired us on what we want to share today.
Absolutely. If you're out there today and you're listening, and I said to Pastor Joel, we talk about it all the time, that your childhood has a direct implication on who you are today. And getting in relationships, or even just on your job, it plays an integral part in how you treat people, because people treat you the way you see yourself.
That's right.
And if you see yourself as a person who can't make friends, or you see yourself as a person who is worthless, or I'm not good enough, because that's what you were told,
that's right,
or that's how you were treated as a child, it is forever how you will be treated.
That's right.
And so that's what this show is dedicated to today. It's to people like that who felt like they're nothing, or worthless, or I can't make it, or I can't do it, because although that movie was a movie, there are thousands and millions of kids that live like that every single day.
And some of them are no longer kids, they're adults who are living the residual effects of having that lifestyle.
Absolutely.
So we want to kind of talk about the effect and impact of your childhood on your marriage.
Absolutely.
Does your childhood make a difference on who you are today and how your marriage is?
Absolutely.
And maybe the struggle you're having in your marriage may not be your mate. It might not. Maybe it could be the pain that you came from when you were a child.
Absolutely.
And I think sometimes we leave that. We don't pay attention to it. If you're angry with them, but are you really angry with the fatherlessness that you experience? Or are you really angry with the neglect or the rejection that you experience, or the abuse you experience? And so being able sometimes to survive in this marriage may be important. It might be important to go back into our child. 30 years ago, 20 years ago, how was I hurt, wounded, broken, and how does that affect our marriage?
Absolutely.
Psychologists say, and I remember in school, we did a case study on Sigmund Freud and on Albert Adler. Psychologists say you form your personality, you form who you are between the ages of 0 and 8. Between the ages of 0 and 8, you are basically who you are, except through tragedy, or I believe they call it religious experience, through Christ.
Right.
So a lot of times you have to realize that the pain that you suffer between 0 and 8 has a direct impact on who you are. You develop your personality between 0 and 8. And so when you think about that, that's pretty amazing, because that means maybe the issue I'm having with you is really not with you, it's with what took place in my life 30 years ago.
Yes. Because I had a young lady tell me who her mother, kind of had a lot of relationships. And she's a very strong-willed kind of person now in her adult life. And she was sharing with me, I had no choice to be this way, because as a young child, I always had to take care of the family when mom was out dating and with her gentleman friends. And she always had to be the adult, even at 7 and even at 6. And so now she's that kind of person who just doesn't take anything, because she always had to be a big girl, And so we want to help those today who are experiencing whatever that hurt is. And you know what the most interesting thing was for me? When people see a movie like Precious and they leave, we all start talking about what we just saw. And it's interesting because a lot of people leaving the theater began to talk about how angry they were with the mother. How could she? How could she? How dare she let her man touch her child? And I think different, because although you're angry about it, my thought is, who hurt her? Who hurt the mother? Who violated the mother? That the mother would think that that's okay.
As Christians, we call that generational curse.
Absolutely, I was going to say
the pain of the past visits the person of the future.
Absolutely.
And so what tends to take place is, that thing really does hit the lineage. It's happened to great-great-grandmama and great-great-grandmama and great-grandmama and great-grandmama and grandmama, and now it's up to mama, and now it's trying to get to you. You can't break that curse. But a lot of folks are struggling with generational issues that have been in their families for seasons and generations and hundreds of years. Some even longer than that. And so a lot of times we have to deal with that, because it's really, really important. That's why we always say, when you get married, you don't just marry the person. I didn't just marry you. I married.
You married my stuff?
I married. Well,
he married my baggage.
Okay.
I had pretty Louis Vuitton baggage.
I married your junk. I married your junk in your trunk. I mean, I married all of you. No, I married you. I married.
My milkshake bringing all the.
See, there you go. I'm trying to be serious here.
Me too.
Okay, but no,
You said you started it.
But I'm just saying that I did start it, didn't I? But when you marry someone, you marry all aspects of it, and these are things that are critical.
Yes.
How many times have we had counseling, and we're sitting here with the wife and the husband, and we're going through all of these problems and issues, when at some point of that counseling session, the husband will break down.
And say,
how many times? I mean, we can't count it on fingers and hands.
No.
How many times we can relate the problem they're having in their marriage to the problem, the fact his father wasn't there, or his father neglected him, or his father abused him, or he saw his father as a rolling stone having many affairs on his mother. I mean, how many times have we seen the struggle in a present marriage have everything? If you're a woman and you're watching, listen, please, it's important that you take a real look at what your husband has experienced in his past. If you're a man and you're watching, listen to me. Deal with the pain that you've gone through, what your father did, how that affects you. It has a major impact on that person.
For your own self-fulfillment and your own freedom, you gotta be. See, we have confused thinking that seeking help means that we're crazy. And it doesn't mean that you are crazy.
No.
If you have a chest pain, you don't sit at the house and wait for it to go away. You go to the hospital because you know that there's someone there that can help you. And people have mental devastation based on things that happen to them in their youth. And it's okay to seek help. It does not mean that you're weird, you're strange, something is wrong. It just means that you need to go and deal with it. Because if you don't, the generational curse just goes down the lineage to your children and your children's children, because these kids are picking up on every little detail of how it has affected you. Do you agree with that?
You're right. So now let's go through a couple of pieces of what happens. And then you've got some questions that some bloggers have asked that I think are pretty deep, some things that are pretty deep. But these are some of the characteristics that take place in relationships that cause us to have problems. Number one, and you don't have to write these down, but this is just kind of how things operate in life. Often a person that has been physically abused struggles with either a quick temper and or extreme timidity. Let me say that again. And often a person who has been abused struggles with either quick temper and extreme anger, or they're very timid. And subconsciously they end up marrying or being in a relationship with the abuser. Let me say it again. Often a person who has been physically abused has either quick temper or they're very timid. And what ends up happening is, because they become comfortable with the abusive environment, subconsciously they actually seek out a permanent, long-term adult relationship with someone that is an abuser. And it's important to realize. So if you were abused as a child, you got to be very cautious of not being able to be familiar with that environment. You got hit, you got hit, and you got hit, and you got hit, and so now you're an adult. And so if you're not careful, if you don't have a renewal of your mind, then you're used to being hit, and so you seek out somebody. Now you don't know they're an abuser, but they have the same characteristics as your abuser had.
That you're drawn to.
So you don't pay attention. You're not focused on the fact that I'm going to marry someone that hits me. But that person still has the same mood swing.
Absolutely.
And that person still has the same character deficiency.
Yeah.
And so you're attracted to that. You always hear people say that good girls liking bad boys.
Yeah.
You ever hear that?
We were supposed to do a show on that.
Well, we're gonna do a show on that. Sometimes they're attracted to that, and it